That's a hell of a wife.
Well, all right. What I'm here to talk about, and I'll use the microphone occasionally, but typically I don't need it because I teach students. I brought this guy. It's not a new product. We've had this for a while. It's UFFO, Unidentified Flying Foam Object. And also, because we were talking about it earlier, any of you who teach rockets or do demos and happen to choose one of our foam cup rockets, there's a question on the front page of the Dart Foam Cup Container Company's website, which is a question I love asking both kids and parents alike. And I'd like to see a show of hands. How many of you have ever had a drink in a styrofoam cup? Put your hands down, you're all wrong. Styrofoam is a patented foam insulated product made by DuPont only. They don't make cups. No such thing as a styrofoam cup, and there never has been. Don't let anybody tell you different. Okay. When I tell that to the kids, they just love it because they know they can go home to mom and dad and win $1. The reason I brought this with me, and another show of hands, we're going to do some voting here. How many of you have heard of the event, the St. Louis Arch? Several of you. I first heard about it in sport rocketry or American space modeling. I'm aging myself, but I decided to take it a step further. I did this a couple of years ago at Naram. I'm going to do it again tomorrow afternoon. I've got a modified UFO here. It uses 24mm motors instead of 18. It's going to be prepped with an E9, and it's got a special launch pad, and I'm going to put 12 different color streamers underneath this, and it'll carry a rainbow out over the field here in Cincinnati tomorrow afternoon. And if it is as popular as I think it's going to be and you folks like it, I'll do it again a little bit later in the week. I brought it on streamers to do that. And no, I'm not putting the camera on it.
Not for the second flight?
Maybe for the second flight. Yeah, I put one of his cameras on my decaffeinator and it just destroyed itself. And it was because of the camera, as it turns out. All right. What I do have to talk about here in a way of new things, we've got several new kids that have come out since the last time I was at an RM. I missed last year. I don't have the entire selection. They've been around. You folks know me. I did want to bring out a couple of things. What I wanted to talk about, and I didn't bring them with me because frankly they got quite damaged in today's rainstorm, are our two Goddard rockets, which were the commemorative kits for the Narcon earlier. Was it this year or last year? Last year. Last year. I'm sorry. Oh, dating myself here. I have the Goddard L13 and the Goddard Nell, which was the first liquid fuel rocket launched by Goddard in Auburn, Massachusetts. They've both been very well received, been very excited to have those kits out. It's interesting to note that our Nell rocket actually flies better than Goddard's did. Of course, ours is stable, his was not. We had the opportunity, and it was probably the high point of my 9-year career as a rocket manufacturer, to launch one of my Nell rockets on the very site that Goddard launched his with the permission of the Historical Society, and that's currently on display at the Goddard Library at Clark University, Worcester, Mass. So that was very exciting for us to be able to do that. Earlier this year, we announced the Proxima Centauri. This model was built by Tony Vincent of our club at CMAS. He did a beautiful job. I invite you to come by and take a look at it at our booth. It's beautiful. We have several of these in stock. Just an example of a futuristic model, and many of our futuristic models come with stories. And quite frankly, it's more for my benefit than yours, because another passion of mine is writing. I just never get a chance to do it. And this is supposed to represent mankind's first attempt to go to another star, hence the name Proxima Centauri, because that's their goal. And part of the story is written on the back of the cover card. Excuse me, you'll find more of the story in the instructions and some on the website, but we don't finish the story. And on several of our kits that have a history, if you want to call it that, we don't finish the story because the goal is that you finish the story. Just kind of fire the imagination, not just in the model, but in the story that goes with the model. Our newest kits that we're announcing here at NARAM, we have a fairly basic looking skill level 1. This joins our family of JigTech models. If you've not seen our JigTech fins, and actually I was surprised several people came by and they'd not heard of them. I wanted to bring a set and show you. They're laser cut fins, slots and tabs. You put a tab in a slot, a tab in a slot, and you've assembled a fin unit that will not fall apart while the glue dries. The other advantage of this, it's impossible to put the fins on crooked. So kids have very good success with their first rocket However, they're working with wood. Should they happen to break a fin, they can glue it back on with white glue. The neat features about this particular one that uses the jig tent, these fins are basswood, not balsa. Less chance of the young child breaking it. It's minimum diameter, which has two advantages. Advantage one, you don't have the time it takes to assemble the motor mount, nor the cost associated with those parts. Advantage number two, a wide range of motors in a very small rocket, from 1/2 A6 all the way up to C65. The other advantage is streamer recovery, great for small field recovery, also less expensive than a parachute, also quicker to assemble. I suspect that this is going to rapidly become our best-selling classroom rocket. Right now, the whatchamacallit has that title, with the thingamajig a close second. Keeping the micro world going, we are also announcing the buckshot. Micromax motors are about $6 or so a pack. You get 6 motors in a pack. It's about $1 a shot. There you go. A couple of delayed giggles. You know, naming these things can be real difficult. When inspiration hits you, jump on it. It's a nice ring fin rocket with laser cut fiber fins. Real easy to build, a lot of fun to fly. And then we have this guy, the trifecta. How many of you have seen the Flisk Hits Frickin' Frack? Oh, I love it. You're going to love this. 1, 2, 3 stages, 13 millimeter. Going to capitalize on the re-announcement of the A100Ts. And this is another multi-stage rocket that you're not going to be able to lose unless you fly it into a wood chipper. We did a drag race 2 weeks ago, this rocket against the Comanche 3. And the poor guy had DCC for his selection of motors. And he actually accepted a bet as to which one would be easier to recover. I so quickly won that bet, I don't think he's really interested in paying it off, because the furthest I had to go was 20 feet. Find me another 3-stage rocket you can do that with. Also, because of the way this goes together, and I'm going to reassemble it here again real quick on my nifty little jig. It's called a wood dowel. All of the fins are even with the bottom of the lowest body tube. That makes this the shortest 3-stage model rocket kit that's ever been developed. You can't make it any shorter than that. Okay. You've seen that? You've seen that? I'm going to show this again because I think it's an important tool. This is a cutaway rocket motor. We announced this several years ago, but I like showing this. You can remove the delay and ejection charge to make a booster motor out of it. The beauty of this is if you teach a lot of rocketry, if you're anything like me, you get tired of drawing this on the board. This is also big enough to show in front of the class. It's sturdy enough to pass around and let your students handle it. It's tough stuff. Okay? Really easy to build. We sell it as a kit for educators. We don't make a lot of money on this, but the intent here is to use this to turn other people on to rocketry. Another thing we have is the block and tackle. I've got a full set here. We have 13 millimeter, 18 millimeter, and 24 millimeter long and short. Very simple little tool, very basic, and I'll bet you conservatively half the people in this room have built one on their own. You're going to build a minimum diameter rocket, especially with your classroom. You have to set the engine block. What do? Take a spent motor casing. If you're doing a class, you better hope you got 20 of them. Mark a 1/4 inch, put glue in a tube, put the engine block in, slide it in up to the mark, take it out real quick. You don't want to glue it in there, and you hope you don't slip past the mark because there's no way of getting it back out. And now you've got to measure for the engine hook. Well, if you went in a little bit too far and not quite far enough, exactly how far do you measure for that hole for the hook? This takes the question away. Put your engine ring in there, slam it home, take it out. Slide that up against the motor tube, make your slice right at the end of the tube. It's exactly where the engine block is. Done. You take a 3-minute job that you might mess up, it becomes a 3-second job that you can't mess up. It's a simple tool. I used to make these all the time. take a spent motor casing and wrap a bunch of masking tape around the end of it. Well, now you can buy a kit for them, get all 4 of them. I keep them on my workbench, and I've got 20 of them in a box for my classes. What we're also working on, and I apologize, I could not get it done in time for Naram, is our 8th streamer duration model. This is going to be the Cougar 330. It has a 3x30 inch streamer. It's minimum diameter Micromax. And I cannot imagine the fun this thing would have been this week if I'd have gotten it done. And by the way, this comes with a newly developed micro pop lug. A fairly radical design on the pop lug idea. Doesn't have any holes poked into the tube for the pop lug, but it still works. Anybody interested in seeing how that works can stop by my booth tomorrow. Being micro, unless you get like a big magnifying glass here, none of you would see it if I took it out and showed it to you. And I don't really feel like walking around and showing it. The last thing is, because of popular request, we have a Micromax launch pad design that we have been sending. We send photos that everybody asks, what can I do? I want to get in the micro, I don't have a launch pad. And typically we tell them to take a spent motor casing, glue a launch rod, 50 mil, and then glue a regular launch lug on the side. That way you can slide that down on your regular launch pad and convert it. When you're done, it fits in your range box. Well, this is a wood dowel instead of a spent motor casing because it's easier to go buy wood dowels than to buy spent motor casings. We also have a little blast deflector for it. We're going to make these available for sale, and I've actually got a few here for people who are getting into Micromax the first time. I'll give them to you, until I run out. But we're going to make this available for sale. It's going to be a $2.50, $3 item. A real cheap item. It's real simple. There's not a lot to it. It will be in kit form. You have to build it. Not a lot there. You're building a Micromax rocket. You can certainly build that. That's what we're up to right now. We have more kits coming in the near future. We're looking at a scale Journeyman. You can see an example of that back at our booth. A couple of futuristic rockets, some more micro. We're always looking into coming out with some new stuff. I've got some ideas out there. Some are great, some are not so great, some you might like and some you might not like. We're always looking for feedback and input. We understand that scale is very important to a lot of people, not just people in this room, but pretty much in general around the sporting industry. For rocketry, scale is very good. So we're going to focus a little more on that. The scale models we have come out with have done very well, and we recognize that, so we want to keep going. Any questions while you got me? My goodness. Thank you.
Next in line, I'd like to hear from is Bill from Quest out there.
Yep.
All right. Manufacturer. Sounds great. Thanks, Bill.
Need a launch pad, Bill?
Does the Sure ECM say Estes on the side?
They're bad.
Sorry.
That's how you get a lot of stuff in one small box. Okay, ready to go. I'm Bill Stein, president of Quest Aerospace. Nice to be here again this year. Nice to see a lot of old faces. Thank you. It's been a really busy year for Quest. We actually, in the last 12 months, have shipped 11 new products. We service a little bit different market than Jim and Carl. And so Naram really isn't concurrent with our product release cycle. And most of our new products for 2012 won't be announced until October. at the big industry iHobby show in Chicago. So, there's kind of a new dynamic to the friendly competitive nature in the business now. And so most of the stuff that we're looking to release